Hey, welcome back to another video. And today, I just wanted to put out a couple quick comments because for you guys out there that follow me on Instagram, by the way, if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, please follow me over there because for whatever reason, I was deplatformed over here on YouTube temporarily, and then they put me back up. They said that I was in severe violation of their community guidelines, and they went ahead and took down my account. I emailed them, and then they put my account right back up. So for whatever reason, they decided that this channel is, I don't know, too controversial. I don't know if it was copyright music, which usually if there's copyright music, what they do is they take down that video. But anyways, I don't know what it is, but today we might make YouTube mad again because I just wanted to talk to you guys about fatherhood, my dad, and as the title says, I owe everything that I have to my dad. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the politicians are doing. We're going to talk a little bit about fatherhood in general, the statistics, and then we're going to talk about some lessons that I learned from my dad. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this. So I've been seeing something interesting going on the internet, and that is that people are very confused that the politicians are basically paying lip service to this holiday, but they're not doing other things that the political left wants to see, such as reparations or such as changing the police system around, or such as all these other things like opening the border, making the border easier to cross, things like that. Why aren't these things happening? You ask me, the reason why these things aren't happening is because you're gonna get that lip service, and you're not gonna get. Nobody in the White House is going to significantly change your life for the better except for you. Okay, so that's what I think about that. But anyways, Biden signs into law bill making Juneteenth a national holiday. So I have nothing bad to say about Juneteenth. I think it's a great holiday. I think it celebrates a great cause. However, what we get typically, from politicians, from the White House, is things like this, like Harriet Tubman being put on a $20 bill. Says an effort the Trump administration tried to halt over here from the New York Times. So what is this actually doing for the black community? What is this doing for black people, that having Harriet Tubman on the 20? This is great. Sure, celebrating Juneteenth. Juneteenth was already kind of celebrated, but now people get the day off. It's like, it's a symbolic thing that is kind of, if you ask me, it's kind of a virtue signaling thing. But hey, I'm not going to say anything bad about the holiday itself or whatever it represents, but what is that actually doing as far as what people actually voted for? That's the question you got to ask yourself. But anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead into the next one. And I want to look at some fatherhood statistics. And then at the end, we'll get into some lessons that I learned from my dad. And check these out. 4 times greater risk of poverty if you're in a fatherless household. 7 times more likely to become pregnant as a teen. More likely to have behavioral problems. More likely to face abuse and neglect. 2 times more risk of infant mortality. More likely to abuse drugs and alcohol. More likely to go to prison. More likely to suffer obesity, more likely to commit crimes, 2 times more likely to drop out of high school. So we've got some more over here. I'm going to cut through some of these. Some of these are pretty shocking. So for example here, 85% of youth who are currently in prison grew up in a fatherless home. That's according to the Texas Department of Corrections. So we're seeing a trend here, right? The fatherless homes thing, I mean, obviously you can make it out. These statistics don't necessarily, they're not destiny. Statistics are not destiny. But we see a clear trend here as far as what we, the individual, should be focused on fixing, rather than, these things over here where it's like, okay, here's a holiday, here's a $20 bill. Why aren't we focused on these things that actually would have a meaningful impact on people's lives? People like myself, who I've had a great life, and I'm going to have an even greater life moving forward because of the lessons that I'm about to share with you guys. So look at this. Girls have a 100% higher risk of suffering from obesity if their father isn't present. Teen girls from fatherless homes are 4 times more likely to become mothers before the age of 20. And this is from lifeisbeautiful.org. Just look up lifeisbeautiful.org statistics. I'm going to go ahead and scroll through these, but you see very bad outcomes when it comes to not having your father in the home. So like I said before, that's not guaranteed. So anyways, I just wanted to quickly scroll through these, and I hope you guys do go check this out. I mean, look at this. 63% of suicides involve a child who was living in a fatherless home when they made their decision. You just see some bad outcomes. So anyways, I've got 10 lessons from my dad that he taught me. And the first one is you can have anything that you want. So this is actually kind of a funny story because I would always roll around with my dad, and, we'd be going past McDonald's or we'd be going to, wherever. And I'd ask him like, hey, can I have that? And he would say, yes, you can. And, obviously then I'd be like, okay, well, give me. But he would be like, no, you have to work for it. So I'd either have to go work for other people, I'd have to get a job, I'd have to work for him. And his lesson was that you can have anything, but you have to work for it. So that was my lesson, that nothing in this world is free, right? The money has to come from somewhere, the labor has to come from somewhere, but you can't have anything if you work for it. So I had to include this number 2 just for my dad if he's watching out there. If someone implements your advice that they give you, they will tell you about it. So I have noticed this time and time again throughout my life, is that if somebody asks you for advice and then you tell them what to do and then they don't do it, you will not hear from them. So that's just a pretty funny one that I've seen over and over again throughout my life. All right, number 3 is don't lend out money, pay people to never ask for it again. So when I was growing up, we were kind of the well-off family. So when people would ask for money as far as a loan, the best thing that I learned was just to give it to them and say, either pay it back or don't come back and don't ever ask for money again. Number 4 kind of ties into number 1. I already mentioned it a little bit, but it was that you can have anything you want, but nothing in this world is free. Okay, so if you want something, you have to work for it, but you can work for it. Number 5 is that you don't need to go to college to succeed. Okay, so my dad, he was in the military. I think he did 10 years, and then after that, he got some certificates for computer programming. Long story short, he ended up going into the tech space, worked for Microsoft at one point, started his own businesses at one point, and he never got a single college degree, but he's doing very well for himself, much better than most people. If you guys don't know out there, computer programmers do very well. And so anyways, that was a lesson for me that, mom went to college, dad did not go to college, but they're both doing very well for themselves. So I didn't fall into that millennial trap of you have to go more and more and more school just to be successful, because you can provide that value regardless. Okay, number 6, if you quit, you will regret it forever. So whenever we were doing sports, our dad never let us quit. If we started something, we finished it. So, and that rule was not imposed on me after I left the house. And he told it to me, but I didn't understand it until I started to quit things in my own personal life. And I regret those things to this day. So that was one thing that he taught me that really stuck with me. And I just think that if you didn't grow up with a role model like that in your life, where would you end up? You'd end up quitting a lot of things. You would end up mirroring a lot of these statistics that we see down here. And number 7 is it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So what exactly do I mean about that? I mean, that is a general, good rule of thumb, but also I always make this comparison of, imagine we had Texas's grid go down, right? That was a terrible thing, right? That was the government's fault, right? The government was running the grid. It was poorly run. But what could you have done, right? If you were not the type to make excuses, what could you have done? What you could have done is you could have had a generator, right? What do you think is in my parents' house? A generator, okay? The police, they take a long time to come if you call them. If somebody were to break into your house, what could you have? Okay, what do you think is in my parents' house? They have weapons next to their beds. Okay, so they don't need the police to come. They don't need the grid to not go down. They are prepared because they're not relying on what the government's going to do for them. They know what they can do for themselves. Number 8 is your income determines your access in life. So basically, they always preach that to me all the time. If you want to have access to, they would always say ski trips, or you want to go flights, you want to go to Hawaii, you want to see all the cool things there are to see in life, well, you're going to have a decent income so that you can essentially have access to those things. Number 9, lesson from my dad, and that is a little contradiction of number 8, but it is that flashy things are for broke people who want to look rich. So if you guys go back and look at the video of my parents, you will see that I'm not going to make fun of their dress, but they're pretty plainly dressed. They don't really care that much about how they're dressed, and they're very secure in their person and their being. And that's just kind of how I grew up. My dad wore cheap shoes that he wore out for 5, 6, 7 years. We had to make him buy some new ones. And, he drove the same car for the longest time. He still has, I think just 2 years ago, he got rid of a car that he bought back in '86 or something ridiculous like that. So that's just the type of person he was. Very well off, but he just didn't care about these shiny things. And the last thing as I scroll through all of these is number 10, keep your family and business separate. So I'm not going to read all of these out down here, but I saw it all the way through my life that it's just better to keep your family and your business separate. All right. We made a couple mistakes as a family, intertwining them, but for the most part, family, business, keep them separate. It makes Thanksgiving a lot more comfortable. And anyways, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there who are doing their duty to raise our next generation. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I appreciate it. And hopefully I don't get deplatformed for this again, but I'll see you guys in the next video.